From your Revere TV studio on Broadway, it's the Revere Review.
Hello, and welcome to the Revere Review. My name is Debbie Pesca.
And I'm Ed DeVille. Well, last Tuesday night, a very hectic and at times tumultuous political campaign season came to a close with some very surprising outcomes.
In the Revere School Committee race, the big surprise of the night was Susan Gravellisi, finishing third for one of the 6 school committee positions. Other school committee candidates to win a seat were Carol Ty, who was the top vote getter, Michael Ferranti, Stacy Rizzo, Dan McGuire, and Donna Wood Pruitt. Longtime school committee man Fred Sinella lost his bid for a return.
And in the at-large race, Stephen Morabito had a surprise of his own, finishing 4th in the race for one of the 5 city councilor at-large seats. In the 2000 election, you may remember, Stephen narrowly won a seat, defeating John Correggio by 10 votes, but then lost the seat a few days later by 3 votes after a recount. In another showing of note, Jessica Giannino, one of the youngest members of the council, was the top vote getter in the council race. Other councilors winning at-large seats were Bob Haas, Tony Zambuto, and 5-term councilor John Correggio will not be returning.
In the ward council races, all the incumbents will be returning. Richard Penta defeated Greg Lecedra to retain his Ward 1 seat, and John Powers defeated the challenger Al Terminello to retain his Ward 5 seats. Councilors Ira Novoselsky, Arthur Guanasso, Steve Ridden, and Charlie Patch all ran unopposed.
And finally, in the other big vote of the night, Revere residents said yes, but East residents said no to the Suffolk Downs plan for opening a resort-style casino on its East Boston Revere property. Mayor Dan Rizzo, who announced the results on the TV last night, stated that he and Suffolk Downs were going to begin work immediately to try to keep the project alive by relocating it so that it is solely in Revere. Let's take a look at his comments. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Hi,
hey,
Dan.
Debbie, how are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
I guess I'm gonna ask you, being out on the street, what's the word on the street? Is it a good evening so far?
Well, in Revere, it's a good evening.
Yeah.
Revere, I'm very, very proud of our residents who came out overwhelmingly to support this project at Suffolk Downs, who has been a terrific neighbor to the city of Revere, as you both know, for close to 80 years. Not so good news out of East Boston. And again, to our neighbors here and our residents of Revere who support jobs, who support economic development, who support local investment, I congratulate them and I thank them for their vote. My plan is, I have spoken with Suffolk Downs to see about the potential for putting the project in Revere only, and I plan on appealing to the Gaming Commission for the ability to do so. So, this is a minor setback, to say the least, but I'm not going to let all the time and effort that my administration put into this project, as well as the voters who turned out overwhelmingly today to support it, just go down the tubes without a fight. So
We're going to interrupt you for a minute because it sounds like, and I think you're going to ask the
just
same
some
question.
clarification.
It sounds like you have knowledge of what percentage turned out, and you have some knowledge of
So the
a
finals,
percentage.
if you will.
yes,
So the final is that East Boston, it went down,
yes,
and Revere, it was approved.
yes.
It was a yes vote in Revere and a no vote in East Boston.
Do you have any sense for what would the percentage in East Boston?
I believe that I think it could be as high as a 10% deficit. So,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot different than we had originally anticipated. That's what, when I say, the misinformation and bad information, and maybe in some cases a lack of information, can have an adverse effect on an election like this. To turn away, millions of dollars of local recurring revenues, to turn away the opportunity to put 4,000 people to work, to turn away local investment. And I know in our community, we voted for $7.5 million of local investment. I think East Boston had a commitment of $5 million, but nonetheless, that's $5 million into their local economy.
Well, as we said last night, it's probably going to take a Tom Brady-like last-second touchdown pass to win this one. So stay tuned. This story ain't over yet.
Nope, it's not. It only took a Suffolk Superior Court jury 2 days to find Deshaun Chappelle guilty of first-degree murder, which carries a mandatory sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole. Deshaun Chappelle was convicted of first-degree murder, social worker Stephanie Moulton at a Revere group home on January 20th, 2011. Miss Moulton was an aspiring nursing student who was engaged to be married, and she was only months into her job as a social worker at a group home run by the North Shore Mental Health when she was murdered. Deshaun and Stephanie were alone inside the group home when he beat her, stabbed her, and split her neck. Then he dumped her body in a church parking lot. Chappelle was 27 at the time, had a history of mental illness and violence, including the vicious beating of his stepfather, for which he had served prison time. During the trial, Chappelle's defense attorney, Daniel Solomon, told the jury that his client is a schizophrenic who heard voices that told him to do things. According to court records, Chappelle's family raised concerns with the group home days before the slaying that he had not taken prescribed medications. And before the attack, Chappelle had an angry confrontation with a staff member about a bedroom window. But Moulton is said to have known none of this when she was left alone with him on the morning of the slaying. The judge, defense, and Moulton's family all seem to agree that there was a systematic breakdown preceding that Thursday morning slaying 2 years ago. This was just an overall tragedy.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I read something recently about the whole issue of people of this nature who are on medications, how sometimes they go off their medications, and establishing some means to force them to take their medication so that things like this don't happen.
Well, the other thing, too, is this place was located, you know, feet from a school.
Yeah.
You know, that's another thing that this has to be looked at. You know, a murder can be committed that close to a school.
Well, we'll be right back after these messages.
All right, are you ready? Mm-hmm. Can you move your hand? Yeah, thanks. All right. Okay, go.
This?
No, to the right, The other right. Can you not? Stop, no, stop.
Having trouble recording rockin' videos? Did you know, right here in your own city, you have free access to a variety of video equipment, including high-definition robotic cameras, green screen walls, advanced sound and lighting technology, a virtual studio editor, and the ability to create dynamic graphics? Entertain your city with your own show on our local channel. Post-production on IMAX with Adobe Premiere and After Effects can enhance any production. You may be wondering, how can I make this happen? Become a member of Revere TV. It's easy. Sign up online at reveretv.org. Take a free class in either studio production, field production, editing, or all three. Produce your own show. Check out high-definition cameras for your own home videos. Volunteer for the city. The possibilities are endless and free. Let out your creativity with Revere TV. Located at 385 Broadway, Revere.
Could a medical marijuana site be coming to Revere? Owners of the Roadway Inn on American Legion Highway, the Philbin family, will be taking that issue up with the council on November 25th. The proposed site would be located at 44 Railroad Street near the commuter rail and across from Suffolk Downs. Included with the Philbin family in the marijuana company is a former Worcester County Sheriff, Guy Giodos. Now that the casino issue has been settled with a vote, there certainly is going to be the next big issue to be debated in Revere, I believe.
I think that meeting will be well attended.
Yeah.
A couple weeks ago, I was able to sit down with the new board members of the Castles organization. They are a nonprofit organization that have nothing to do with Revere Beach or Sandcastles, but are all Revere High alumni who raise money to support after-school programs for underprivileged youth in the city. Their signature event, A Taste of Revere, will be coming up on Monday, November 18th. Let's take a look at some of that interview that was shown recently on A Focus of Revere. What I want to ask is, What is Castles? Let's talk about that first. Explain to me what Castles is. And maybe, Tom, since you've been on the board from the very beginning, you can tell us a little bit about what Castles is. And
Okay, so Castles is a nonprofit organization that raises money to provide scholarships for children attending after-school or out-of-school programming in the city of Revere. So it's geared at Revere children who we want to attend either after-school programs in our schools or during the summer, some of the out-of-school activities that we have in the city. And it's for children who otherwise couldn't afford to pay the price that those programs demand. So we started this organization because we recognized there was a real need in the city for after-school opportunities for a lot of our children, but some of them couldn't afford the fee that some of the providers were charging. And so given the need, we thought if we could create an organization that could raise money to help those children, we really would be doing a significant part for the city, because the city has long recognized, especially in after school, that those hours, usually between 3 and 6, are real troublesome hours for young children. A lot of times they're going home, there are no parents there. It's a place where kids can get into a lot of trouble. So we've always made it a priority in the city to provide after school programming. But even when we did that, there was still a price to be charged by those vendors, whether it was independent vendors or even the school department. To run those programs requires money. There always had to be some fee, and even if it was modest, and in many cases it was, there were some children, a not insignificant amount, that couldn't afford the daily fee. And so this organization raises money exclusively to provide scholarships for those children to attend those programs. And all of our money, everything we raise, goes to those scholarships. There's really virtually no administrative fees or any administrative costs that Castles takes. We're all voluntary board members, and it's been in existence for about 7 years, and I think in that time we have given out almost $250,000 in scholarships to children, all of whom live in the city of Revere. This is exclusively for children in the city of Revere.
And remember, November 18th, we want you all there for the Taste of Revere.
Yeah, well, that should be a good night. I know I'm planning on going there. I'm looking forward to having some of those tastes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, for the second year in a row, all 4 cheerleading squads from the Revere Pop Warner won first place in their divisions and are moving on to compete in the New England Regionals in Springfield. In a new twist that was added this year to this competition, a trophy was awarded to the team with the highest overall score in their level, which in the cheering world is called the Grand Champion. 3 of Revere's squads, the A, the B, and the D squad, all took that top honor as well. The B and D squads will compete in the regionals on November 9th for their chance to move on to the Nationals in Disney World, and the A and C squads will compete the following weekend on November 16th for their chance to go to the Nationals. And if that wasn't enough, exciting enough, the Revere Pop Warner E Squad cheerleaders, also known as the Mighty Mites Division, has been picked to perform in Disney World in December. Another great showing for the Revere cheerleaders. It's just amazing how they just keep rolling them out there.
I'm telling you, these parents that go to Disney World in December right before Christmas.
I think every year you're hearing about some cheerleading from the
Honestly.
high school or Pop Warner going there. It's incredible.
I know. And speaking of travel, there was a Chinese invasion at RHS on October 25th. Approximately 30 education directors from private schools in China converged on Revere High School for a personal tour with Dr. Paul Dakin, UMass Boston professor Wenfen Yan, former Chinese education minister Zhengai Zhen, assistant principal Diane Kelly, and principal Dr. Garcia. The educators came to Massachusetts as part of a cooperative program run by UMass Boston professor Wenfen Yan. Yan runs a program that many Revere educators have participated in, and that connection has led him to believe that Revere is a perfect showcase for urban education. The group also toured Boston Latin School, BC High School, and Boston Renaissance Charter School. In addition, the RHS first ever Mandarin language class welcomed and sang for the guests. Just another great story about Revere High School. It just continues and continues.
They just keep racking them up there. That's great.
They do.
On Friday, November 1st, Revere High played its last regular season football game at the old Harry Delarusso Stadium. Unfortunately, Revere High lost. It looked like it was going to be a tight game for a while, but their opponent, Salem, turned on the Jets in the second half and took the win. The 70-year-old stadium is scheduled to be torn down and completely rebuilt with the money that received earlier this year in a state grant. The total cost of the structure will be $4 to $5 million, with the grant money covering about 70% of that cost. When it is completed, the new stadium will include seating for about 2,250 people, a press box, field house, multi-purpose artificial field, running track, tennis courts, basketball courts, and it will also feature ADA-compliant restrooms and locker rooms, as well as a concession area. The project is expected to be completed sometime in May of 2015. And because of the construction timetable, Revere High's football coach, Lucia Catelli, may find his teams playing all away games during the 2014 season. But he's not complaining about that. Earlier today, we talked with Peter DiGiulio about the Harry Delarusso Stadium, some of its history and some of the activities that went on there. Here's a look at that conversation. With us today is Peter DiGiulio, our star play-by-play announcer on the Friday Night Lights programs that we've been running with our live reviews of the football game. Peter, I was sitting in my sheds, drinking my whiskey and smoking my cigars and listening to your broadcast, believe it or not, of the football games, and was really taken with some of the stories you were telling about the history of Harry Delarusso Stadium, and that's why we would like to have you here today.
Well,
welcome.
Thanks for having me, Deb, Ed. You know, I'm not the foremost authority. I'm 61 years old. The stadium predated me, but, you know, there's guys in the city like Mickey Casoli, Ronnie Corbett, Ace McCarrick, Roger Naples that probably know more history, but I lived the history of the stadium. I was down there as a kid, as a high school student, after college, playing tag football games, and that was a multi-use stadium for years, and it was state-of-the-art when I was a kid. I mean, we had great field, the press box was beautiful, but as you see, it's run down, and time hasn't been kind to it. Yeah. It's just, it's a mess right now, let's face it, you know.
And you talk about some of the multi-use and some of the things I think you're talking about. Was it the Lady Patriots?
Well, it wasn't. It was a state team. First of all, the stadium was called Paul Revere Stadium when I was a kid. And then Silvio Cella, who was the longtime athletic director at Revere High School, he was related to Harry Delarusso, who was a state senator. Okay. And when he passed away, they renamed the stadium after Harry Delarusso.
Okay.
I remember
so, that. Yeah. So, you know, it was a political thing, had to go through a vote and all that stuff, but Harry was a good guy and he gave a lot to the city, so they honored him by naming the stadium after him, you know, and obviously Revere High School has always played there. Some of the Thanksgiving games were legendary. There were stands on the opposite side of the field for many years, and there had to be police officers between the stands because Winthrop and Revere would get into it off the field as much as they'd get into it on the field.
They still do that today.
Yeah, they but the problem is they all sit on the same side now, you know, so when I'm not sure there's going to be stands on the other side with the new stadium, but that's beside the point. High school football was always played there, Pop Warner football for as long as I can remember, and we did have a women's pro football league.
That's what I remember.
That practiced there and played their home games there. And one of our local celebrities, Amy O'Hara, who was on, who was a lieutenant with the police force, was on Survivor, and she was on what is it? That show with the Family Feud with her family, and she played football. She's tough, you know. And I remember her because I was track coach for years, and we had track meets there. And after our track meets, the girls used to come in and they used to change in those locker rooms. I don't know how they were tougher than you thought, because those locker rooms are archaic. But yeah, I mean, we had that there. A lot of people don't remember, but the baseball field used to be in the far left corner. The scoreboard wasn't there, and when it was in the far left corner, home plate was in that left corner, and you used to hit out to Fernwood Ave. And it was a poke, but I remember Joe Marullo, who was a teacher and a good friend of mine, he used to put it over those houses in left field. We had some great baseball games, and, you know, they had some great baseball teams.
Well, we're going to have to do actually a focus on Revere and round up a few people to get some of those stories. But and one of the stories you told the other night when I was watching was about the fireworks and how they used to do the fireworks every year,
Right.
4th of July.
Right, I
I
remember
think
that.
Deb remembers that too.
Absolutely
You know,
remember that.
she's younger than I am, but they used to have ground fireworks
Mm-hmm.
after they had the aerial fireworks, and one of the fireworks landed on a house on Fernwood Ave, and it caught fire.
Not
so
funny, but-
so the aerial fireworks were done, but they still did them on the ground,
Yeah.
and you used to get thousands of people from Revere
Yeah,
on a
that used
4th
to
of
be-
July night.
Yeah, I think it was the third, maybe it was the third or the fourth, but I do remember as a kid going down to the stadium with the blanket and sitting down, and that used to be waiting for those fireworks
Yeah,
at the stadium.
kids all loved it, and there were
Yeah.
vendors there, and Revere was always a focal place on the big days, on the holidays, because we were named after Paul Revere.
Revere,
We're a historical place.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the new stadium looks like, and I'm sure you'll be happy to have a press box to work out of. And
Well, yeah, it would be nice. I have a press box now, but it's cold in the winter and hot in the summer.
Yeah.
But it's an iconic place, and it's going to be hard. It's going to be emotional to call the last game at that stadium.
do you know when they're actually going to tear it down?
They're supposed to start tearing it down. I'm not sure if you were misinformed, but from what I understand, they're going to start. They were supposed to start digging it up the week after Thanksgiving, if the Thanksgiving game was here, and they're supposed to have it done before the first game next year.
Really? I think
That's one of the last things I heard. It's going to be done before the school.
Oh.
Now, whether that's still on schedule, I don't know. But it's gonna be a great place for the kids in Revere.
Yeah.
It's long overdue.
It certainly
It's
is.
it's long overdue. And you
is.
know something? You talk about the Revere High School teams not living up to expectations, all that stuff. A brand new stadium will do wonders for confidence. It'll do wonders for self-esteem. Look what we got.
agree.
And you know something? It might just contribute to a better, a better program. Lou Ciccatelli does a great job, but look at the field he has to play on every week when he comes in there.
Yeah,
The
well,
opposing
and
team-
you're right. You watch those games, and you see the mud bowls when it rains and the dust bowl when it doesn't rain.
The opposing teams don't have a locker room to go to at halftime.
Yeah, it's hard to. It's hard.
They have to go into the corner.
Time out.
What's that?
Pardon? Oh, the newspaper office is down on the first floor. You have to come in from the Broadway end of the street. I'm sorry, it's on the first floor. If you come in from Broadway, you through the bank lobby, you'll see it.
It's like laughing.
It's live. You know it's live.
It's not live.
I'm only kidding. Well, it's going to be hard to see. Are we rolling? It's going to be hard to see go.
Yeah.
Obviously we have the recreation department Halloween and Christmas field days down there. Those have become iconic things for the kids in Revere. Started by Adrian and carried on by the guys that are there now. And this, I hope the stadium gets half the use.
So just to get it right, so in 2 weeks will most likely be the last game. That
November
night is definite?
15th. November 15th against Medford, an old GBL. It's something. It's probably the right thing. An old GBL foe, Medford. We used to battle with them. There used to be some great battles because Medford is very similar to Revere in the demographics
So
and the
be
kind of kid. And
well-matched
it's a fitting ending to the place. And Revere has a shot at winning. I mean, Medford and them have the same kind of record, and they lost the first game of the season to them. But I think they have a shot. And that's all you can hope.
That's all you can hope. Well, I'm looking forward to listening to you on that
Thank you
game
very much.
live
Peter,
from
you
I
from
want
my
one of
shed.
those cigars.
And
yeah,
one
but
more thing
yes.
to add, you have a middle school.
Oh, you know something? I have I have a message, a community message. On November 21st, Thursday night, November 21st, the school system is sponsoring it's called Things Every Middle School Parent Should Know. And I'm going to do my thing, my substance awareness talk to parents of middle school kids, and they're going to bring their children to it. We hope we can't make it mandatory, but we strongly suggest that you show up, because some parents don't have a clue about what's going on in the system. Kids are into stuff, and you know, Revere's not a dangerous place to be, but it's got the same problems as other towns do, and some parents don't have a clue. So we're going to give them a little bit of a clue, and you know, it's rated R for real, because we're going to talk about real stuff. I'm not going to give you statistics. Statistics are for losers. You got to give them facts, and
right,
we're
so
going to
this
tell
is
the truth.
November?
November 21st, 7 p.m.
And?
at the Revere High School Auditorium. And it's going to be in the Journal. It's going to be hopefully on the roll on cable, and we're going to give out flyers in the school.
All right.
Be there
Thanks,
we
Peter.
can
if you want to learn something.
So,
Thank
well,
you,
just
guys.
one last thing. In that respect, are you picking up the mantle from Mickey Say No to Drugs Casoli?
You know something? I've been the drug guy in the city for many years. Now I'm the prevention person. You know, when I was a drug guy, I used to go to the mall, and little kids used to see me and wave to me, and the parents say, "Who's that?" I said, "That's the drug guy that comes to our school." And then I was in trouble, so they changed the name. I've been doing it for years. You know, Mickey. I'm not going to pick up the mantle. I couldn't replace him. I couldn't replace him.
Well, at some point, somebody's going to have to pick up the mantle for him. But
he's
yeah,
everywhere.
well, I think you'd be a likely person to do it.
Thank you
Well,
very much, Ed. Deb,
Peter.
thank you very much. Thanks, Cable.
Appreciate you having you.
Thanks, Revere. See ya.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
I guess that's it for tonight.
Yep, it's been an unbelievable 2 or 3 months that we've had going and leading up to the election and everything else, and we'll see where things go from here. So until we talk to you next,
Take
care.
care.